Space, the final frontier. This is a review show for Star Trek The Next Generation. Its continuing mission to explore interesting plot points, to seek out goofs and continuity errors, to boldly go where no other TNG review show has gone before. It's Wednesday. It's 8 o'clock. It's the TNG review show.
Yippee!
Now, you will have to bear with us briefly this evening. We are having some technical issues with Tavikin's device with her phone, with her camera phone. So hopefully she's just rebooting her phone and she will be along shortly. But yes,
Everything crossed.
it's
Any excuse to get a little bit of technical support from a certain Mr. Data.
yes, right. That's right. She needs her data to come and save her. But yes, I'm
She
back.
needs her fix of the big D.
Woo! Yeah, I'm back to TNG review show after it seems like forever.
Oh, I'm so glad.
It has been a month
See
near
them
enough.
raking
It's
again.
nearly been a month. It has. Yeah, but yes,
It's okay. It's not like your show or anything. It's fine.
That's fine. In fact, I realised after Mazza McBob stepped in last week that we could share.
No.
No, don't fancy
No,
doing that
that's
every other
fine.
week. No.
I like my role. I'm happy to be back up in case of sickness, but other than that, I like you doing it.
Aw. But it's good to be back. It is good to be back.
Ew.
And welcome to TNG Review with myself, Monzaman, my co-hosts Mazza McBob, Chief Sean O'Brien, and hopefully Tavikin's Turner if she can get her phone back up and running. And as soon as I see her pop in backstage, I will bring her into the studio. Mazza McBob, how have you been this week?
Yes, very good. It's been an eventful week. My temporary guests who were living with me they've sort of, what do you call it? They've
Flown the
from
nest.
the nest.
From the
Yeah.
nest, yeah.
And they are all set up now with their own flat, and they've moved in, and they got all their furniture, and they're very happy. So that's amazing for them.
Lovely. Very
Big
pleased.
week.
We're all very pleased for them.
Yeah.
Mazza feels like her house is twice as big as it ever was, and Cleaner
Yeah.
than it's ever been.
Yeah, it is a bit. Sort of, there's less stuff everywhere. So yeah, it's feels a lot more spacious.
Yeah, I every day I go over to my father's house, and he lives in a 3-bedroom house, and I wouldn't move into it. Like, he needs help around the house, but I just go over there and help, and then come back. Even though it's 3-bedroom, I'm just like, nah. If I was there, it'd be crowded. It's fine to be
And
there for the day.
I may also move into another room with my office, so my environment may change in the next week or two.
Exciting stuff. Getting your own office.
Yeah.
I'll show you how to get the engineering room.
Yeah, exactly. I'll have a blank wall behind me, so I can potentially put a background on. That'd be nice.
Nice. Sean, how are you this week?
I'm well, thanks. Missing yourself, Monty. Glad we're getting back into the swing of things.
Yeah.
You know, of course, we're into the 17th week of January between paydays, but we're almost there.
The 17th week of
slowly.
January. Yes. Seems that way, doesn't it, in January? It's like, when are we getting paid?
Well, my work is particularly bad because they pay me on a 23rd, which happens to be a Monday this particular month. And it's always, if it's on a Monday, it's on a Monday. But of course, the last time I got paid was Friday the 18th, so it's been 7 weeks. Oh, I'll be glad when this month's over, I'll tell you that. But yeah, glad to be getting into the swing of things. It is frosty and cold in Ireland. Tavi's going to laugh at me. I'm going to say that it's like -2, but it feels a lot worse than the damp gets into your bones.
Yeah, I know. We've actually had like 0. And
yeah, I had to spread some ice around my father's car so he could get in and out.
Yeah.
Get up 10 minutes and defrost the car, Difficult times.
Now we can see the beautiful Tavikins Turner there, but I fear we still can't hear her.
What was that episode with? Do you remember the deaf guy? And he had 3 people interpreting for him.
Oh yeah, his chorus.
His chorus.
Yeah, Tavi needs a chorus.
Tavi could just sort of wave at us, and we'll take turns at interpreting what she's saying for the entire episode.
She agrees.
That could work.
She's happy to get a chorus. It means one of us is going to have to shout.
Just like, show me more, Brent. Give me data and go.
Oh dear. What about if you
write us signs? That's great.
Yeah.
Love it. It's
okay.
-2 degrees where Tavi is apparently.
No, that's not too bad.
That's relatively
More
mild.
D. She wants to see more pictures of the D.
We'll see what we can do. There's not a lot of D in this episode. There's a bit, but not loads.
I don't know. We get to see plenty of head from D. So
we do get a lot of head. Yes. So
we did a lot of
that's
D
pretty
head.
good.
Yeah,
that's good. Yeah.
And he gets to say that is not the correct port, which tickles me something awful.
Yeah.
The writers knew what they were doing. That's
They
all
did.
I'll say right
They
there.
did. Yes.
Spoilers.
So, good evening to everyone in chat. Oh, I just killed it. Well done. Well, there we go. Everyone in chat, good evening. We've got Stuplum. Trailblazer was on, ready and waiting before the stream started, and he's making a fajita, so I hope Trailblazer enjoys his fajitas. We've got Mr. Tavikins Turner. He's on, so good evening to you, the beard. Ruth, good evening, my dear. I hope you are well this evening. And Stu Plum. And oh, go on, Maria. Maz,
I'll do it on behalf of Tavikins.
Banco!
Serene Banco, your Supremes here. So, yeah, unfortunately, Tavikins' mic's not working, but yes, good evening to you. Good evening to Wookie if you're out there. Stuplum, my wrench, Smiler Rainbow, who's sat in a car park somewhere in Plymouth in the freezing cold. So, good evening to you all. I hope you're all well on this rather chilly Wednesday evening. But, so we're here to talk about this evening Season 5 episode Disaster. Episode 5 of Season 5, production number 40275-205. It first aired on the 21st of October, 1991. I don't know, Sean, if you've got the UK release date. I think you're probably just looking it up.
Well, it was 28 years ago. Today.
Yay!
We've synced up.
We're still synced.
We're still synced for the time being. Although it was a weird time because the premiere of Voyager in America happened 2 days ago, 28 years ago. And obviously DS9 was still in production. So, and I can't remember because I was, 9. But there was a bit of Voyager going on. There was a bit of DS9. There was a bit of TNG. It was all sort of a little bit of everything. I mean, the last season of TNG and the BBC seemed to stop. And then a week later, we went from 4 to 5 with no break. So they were kind of almost trying to catch up. But I guess to try and make space for Voyager. But yeah, it was an odd time. Maybe you remember better than me, Monty. You've got some seniority on me, shall we say?
I have age but no memory, so it's
okay.
it's no good. I just noticed though my poorly Princess Anna's in live chat as well. So
is she poorly?
Good. Yeah, she's poorly this week as well.
Oh. So, you guys just keep passing it round to each other.
Yes, we've been the sick house. Yes. I also have my blood wine this evening. I forgot to mention it's a white variety of blood wine this week.
Mine is a pink variety. It just felt wrong to have red wine with a mushroom stroganoff. Yes.
Yeah, I'm on the LUB40.
Nice.
Red wine.
Oh, and Smile a Rainbow.
Get well soon, Anna.
Yes. Get well soon, Anna. Smile a Rainbow reminded me that yesterday was Starship Enterprise Day.
It was 1701.
It's got our 1664.
Yeah,
Yummy.
Cronenberg. Yeah, because it's 1701 yesterday. Yes, Enterprise Day.
I'm not 117. I'm looking at you, Tavi.
Yeah, we do it the right way around. Yeah.
Completely off topic, just to start. How long are we in? 14 minutes. Okay, I'm overdue. The Defiant is 74205, which is Rod Roddenberry's birthday. But it's Rod Roddenberry's birthday in American. He wasn't born on the 5th of February. He was born on the 2nd of May. So...
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you for that, Sean. We needed that piece of information.
You did need that. Rod Roddenberry.
It was important to the stream.
Eugene Wesley Roddenberry III. And yes, his middle name is Wesley, and that's why the character is called Wesley.
Yes, and happy birthday to Devonna, who missed her birthday shout-outs last week, probably. But yes.
Yeah, birthday on
happy
Little
birthday
Christmas.
To Devonna. Yeah,
Devonna, I don't know. I was going to say, I don't know if you know this, but you don't know this. There's a thing called Nullag Naman over here, and it translates as Women's Christmas. And because the men have, basically been cooked and cleaned for, and all the decorations were put up for them, on the 6th of January, the men look after the house, look after the children, put down the decorations, and the women go to the pub, get drunk, and have food. So
nice.
You need to revive that tradition.
Yeah. You're not a cougar. Is that right? At 40, that's the age, is it? That's the threshold where you become a cougar, right? I see.
Well, only 2.5 years younger than you. It's not long.
Yeah. Okay, so yes, it was the back to the episode. It was the 104th episode to be both produced and released. The teleplay was by Ronald D. Moore, who we've talked about many times. The original story was by Ron Jarvis and Philip Scorza. These were both one and dones. This was the only Star Trek writing credit. It was pretty unusual that they solicited a story from outside of the Star Trek community, I guess, production community.
Well, it was still in the time, it was highly unusual, but it was still at the time where you could send in unsolicited scripts and there was a chance of getting them produced. And the reason why most places wouldn't take unsolicited scripts was if you sent in something with half an idea and then a year later you made the same idea again because someone else submitted it, the first crowd could sue you if they sent it in registered post or whatever and say you ripped them off and didn't pay them. So, but Star Trek was like, no, send them on. We'll produce a few, and sure enough, they did.
Yeah. Ron Jarvis is obviously only writing credit. He also more recently has gone on to be a location manager for adult movies. And Philip Scorza
Sounds like a hard job.
Yeah, worked with Ron Jarvis as well on an episode of The Munsters Today called Murder in Munsterland in 1989. So he worked on The Munsters and then this episode of TNG. It was directed by Gabrielle Beaumont, who we've talked about before. This is her 4th of 7 episodes. I don't think we mentioned in the past that she was the first ever female director of Star Trek, of a Star Trek episode.
It took that long. Wow, okay.
Yeah, this is her 4th episode, and I don't think we've mentioned the fact that she was the first ever female director of a Star Trek
suppose there was only... 150 episodes or something it took to get there. But yeah, it still seems too long.
We mentioned in The High Ground, which she also directed, that it was the first time it was written by and directed by 2 women. But we didn't mention in Booby Trap that she was the first female director. So there you go. Congratulations to Gabrielle Beaumont. We mentioned last time that she's directed everything from MASH, Dukes of Hazzard, Miami Vice, Beverly Hills 90210, many things. And she directed her husband in Star Trek Voyager. I also found out that wasn't the first time that she directed her husband. She actually directed her husband in an episode of Rainbow in 1978.
Oh, wow.
You know, up above the streets and houses, rainbow flying high. I don't think Tammy Kinch-Turner is not going to understand what the hell I'm talking about.
I only vaguely know.
Bungo and Zippy.
Yeah, Bungo, Zippy, and George.
Yeah. George, yeah.
Can I just point out, growing up, my phone number was 90208, and you have no idea how much that annoyed me. Like, we were 2 off.
2 off.
90210 was a local swimming pool. It still is.
It still is. Wow.
Yeah.
Yes. Also, we didn't mention, just carry on with Gabrielle Beaumont for a moment. She was cousin of Daphne du Maurier, who we've actually mentioned a number of times on this channel because in the Monty Zone, because of the pub on the Jamaican Inn. She wrote the Jamaican Inn.
Oh, right, okay.
But, yeah, there you go. Anyway. On with the pictures. Pictures. And the teaser. See, you've missed me, haven't you guys? Rabbiting on about this stuff.
We were finished up in an hour and a half. We're 20 minutes in. We haven't even started the episode yet. This is a totally different experience.
Here we go.
Yeah, I was like, I don't like this pressure. I'll get off air as quickly as possible.
and I was like, oh, I can ramble as much as I want because I don't have to worry about us running over.
Yeah. There we go. There's the first picture.
Oh, there's a nice D pic. Look at that forehead.
I thought I'll start by making Tavi happy, and yeah. So,
Captain, I'm sensing Tavi is happy.
Thanks for the translation, Jean. So the teaser. The crew are getting some well-earned R&R between missions, and in time forward, Riker and Data are discussing baby names with Miles and Keiko. The couple think they should call it Michael or Hiro after their respected fathers, though Riker prefers William because he thinks it has a nice ring to it. They take it in turns touching her belly, and Miles gets called to the bridge. In the cargo bay, Dr. Crusher is trying to convince Geordi to take part in her latest play and gets him to sing a few lines from Pirates of Penzance. But question 1, what song does Geordi sing? Does he sing A, Oh, better for to live and die? B, I am a very model? C, stay, Frederick, stay. Or D, hush, hush, not a word. So that's your first. And I will endeavour to put all that into chat.
While you were typing, this was like a bit of a homage to like B movies, like disaster movies. So it's kind of done that with that vein, you know, putting people in weird situations. And I just think it's quite nice that they had that thought about it. And I think it also comes through with some of the humour and the almost sort of slapstickiness of some of the situations they end up in.
Can I just, if anyone doesn't remember how "Oh better far to live and die" goes, it's "Oh better far to live and die."
Thanks, Sean.
Hi, Wookie.
Did I put that in your head? Did I?
Hi, Wookie.
I'm sorry, sir. I haven't had a chance to familiarize myself with all the crew yet.
Yeah. Yeah. So sorry, the formatting of the answers there didn't stick. So.
I've never sung that particular song, but I can tell you it's one of the hardest songs in the world to sing.
I'd imagine
it's
so.
an awful bitch.
I would.
My father's been in several productions of Pirates. I haven't. And I've watched several rehearsals, and I've watched people even the night, like they've been practicing for 3 months, just go blah, 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 fuck. It's not good. It's not easy.
It's tripped many an actor up, I'd imagine.
The trick is, if you flub it, just keep going. Just keep going. Most people won't notice. Just
yeah.
Blah, 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 blah,
Yeah.
Just move on.
Panko and Tavi are saying about how sassy Geordie looks with his hand on his.
I know. Get him there, sister.
Hey, Wookie.
Yeah. That's why I chose that picture. I just like.
Ready for my heat,
I like this pose. So yeah, that's why I chose that one.
Yeah, he's doing some Saturday Night Fever right there.
Yeah. So Geordie gives it his best shot, singing Pirates of Penzance, but the doctor tells him his pitch was off, but she can fix that. Which I don't think it does anything for his confidence. So then on the bridge, Troi introduces Picard to the winners of the science competition, who have won a guided tour of the ship with the captain. One of the kids immediately wants to see the battle bridge and the torpedo bay, but Picard instantly dashes any hopes of seeing something exciting. Instead, they'll be going to hydroponics and the astrophysics lab. Yay!
They have no interest in the black box. No. And also, Picard knows he's on a great excursion, considering he has his off-the-ship jacket on.
Yes, right. He's got his semi-casual attire to seem friendly to the children. Yeah. So the disappointed looking kids follow him into the turbo lift, and as they leave, O'Brien, who's just arrived, isn't sure who to feel sorry for, the kids or the captain. In the turbo lift, Picard tries to enthuse the kids by asking them about their science projects. One kid made a funny-looking radishes. Before the last kid can answer, the Enterprise gets hit by a quantum filament that knocks out all of the systems. Before they can regroup, the Enterprise gets hit by another one. The helm console literally blows up in a woman's face. And that's the end of the teaser.
We've all been there.
Yeah. I mean, it's quite impressive. I imagine. I mean, she's a background actress, but you can see that they actually got like some sort of firework explosion mounted to the front of the helm here, and it literally does blow up in her face. So
yeah. Nowadays they just have an LED light that flashes and it'll be a composite, but no, they just had to do things old school back in the day.
Yeah.
I mean, they back then they still had to physically cut film and splice it together. There's none of this putting it into a computer and sending it to someone in New Zealand and having them edit it overnight when you weren't working and send it back to you at the time you woke up, like they do now. No, it all had to be done on set. Also, the other thing is that they didn't have. They used to have a thing called dailies where they developed the film overnight and you check it the next morning. they didn't actually know what they'd filmed until they could see it the next day and figure out that to reshoot it or not. They couldn't just play it back and check it. It's crazy.
Yeah, it does look like 50 sparklers all went off at once. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a little bit of magnesium, is it? Is that stuff? You used to have it, the strips in science class. Yeah, it's just a bit of crack, that stuff.
Yeah. So I don't understand. I think Tavona said in chat there that I don't understand why the helmet exploded like this. Like, what do they put in that console to make it do that? But...
Yeah, like things like that don't normally come out through a glass LCAR screen, do they?
No.
It's just a bit weird.
No.
You would think they would insulate the stations on the bridge from electrical shocks, but we've seen it in hundreds of times. As I said, if you follow Junk Ball on YouTube, rocks and the whole thing is just
rocks. Yeah. So that was the end of the teaser. Is there anything else we haven't covered in the teaser section there, Mazma Bob?
Probably not that I can see.
Okay,
Yeah. Anyway,
I'll get on with question 1. The answers then. For Wookiee, the question was, what song does Geordie sing, or what song does the Doctor get Geordie to sing from Pirates of Penzance? Was it "Oh Better Far to Live or Die," "I Am a Very Model," "Stay Frederick Stay," or "Hush Hush Not a Word"? It was B. I am a
we
very
are
model.
covered in bees.
So I imagine I'm covered in bees.
Yeah.
Yes.
Sorry, I was saying in the chat, but I said out loud. My father was in 2 different productions of Pirates of Penzance at the same time because Tremor and Waterford City and Tremor 7 miles away, put on the same show in the same year, about 2 months apart. And he had to learn 2 different sets of choreography at the same time with different moves for the same songs. He somehow pulled it off, but he was dragged and begged and pleaded to be in both shows at the same time. So that was a hell of a year for him.
Impressive that he could pull it off.
Yeah.
So onwards with Act 1. I am covered in bees. On the bridge, O'Brien and Troi find themselves in deep doo-doo as they can't access internal comms. The computer's down, the turbo lifts are dead, and so is the lieutenant, who had the console blow up in her face. So, bad news all around.
Is the lieutenant's name one of the questions?
Yes.
Okay, I'll shut up.
Yes, don't say no. Yes, I'm glad.
That's why I asked.
I'm glad you asked. Because I've purposely skirted around her name there.
Do you do this in schools in the UK? Okay.
Yeah. Sit like that. Yeah. Well, Tamona's trying another reboot. Maybe try without the headset, maybe just with the mic coming through your phone. In the turbo lift, Picard has a headache because he's stuck in a lift with 3 crying kids. They think everyone's dead, and they're going to die too. Picard, though, tries to convince them that everything will be all right. But to no avail. They continue to cry. Back on the bridge, Ro makes it out of the turbo lift and tells O'Brien that emergency bulkheads have come down across the ship, so getting anywhere is impossible. The guy at Ops finds sporadic life signs throughout the saucer section, but nothing from the drive section. Ro asks who the duty officer is, and O'Brien replies that it was the lieutenant with the missing face, so now it's Counselor Troi, as she's ranked officially as a lieutenant commander. Troy's like, what the fuck? I'm in charge.
I love how the ensign asked the chief, and the lieutenant commander just is not part of the conversation at all. Like, for me, that military protocol just thrown out the window.
Well, she doesn't know. Nobody knows. She doesn't know. No. She doesn't know. So she asks the chief because she knows that her colleague there at Ops is a ensign. So she asks the chief, and Yeah, so, O'Brien is like, oh no, Troy's lieutenant commander, and Troy's like, oh shit, I'm in charge. We're all going to die. Rose stood next to her, thinks, oh fuck, she's in charge. We're all going to die.
But in the real life Navy, a lieutenant commander can be in charge of a vessel, not a big vessel, but like 50 sailors, 80, absolutely.
I think it's more like she's not in the chain of command because she's not part of the command structure, so it wouldn't have gone to her. But Ronald D. Moore said he noted that they weren't following modern naval procedure, but he thought that he'd bend the rules for the sake of drama because it'd be more fun to see Deanna in charge.
It's a better story, isn't it? Just to see her like grapple with the whole being in command thing.
But it wasn't a mistake so much as a decision taken for the sake of the story.
My father is ex-Irish Army, and he was telling me that some of the doctors retired as Commodore, which is sorry, I'm trying to remember what that is. I think it's like not general, but it's below general, like major in the British Army. But they basically have the rank of major, but they've never commanded a troop in their life. They just start as a doctor in the army, and their ranks go up without ever having any responsibility for anyone other than medical staff. So I suppose it is possible.
But yes, not a good start to her command, as everybody stood around going, "Oh shit." She immediately asks what they should do, and O'Brien and Rowe recommend standard emergency procedures. So Troy's like, "Yes, do that."
What's that then?
But question. I recommend with this, sir. Yes, sounds good.
Question 2 then. What is the name of the lieutenant who died when the console blew up in her face? Was it A, Lieutenant Chin Riley? Was it B, Lieutenant Felton? Was it C, Lieutenant Haskell? Or was it D, Lieutenant Monroe? So, what was the name of the lieutenant?
Lieutenant who died when the console exploded.
Yes. That's the one.
Darmok Angelad. Temba, his arms open.
Wookie says the children were lucky not to get stuck in the turbo lift with helmsman Savile or Harris. Controversial.
When you get the late 70s, early 80s British TV, the whole E3 thing. Ooh.
Anyone from BBC TV from the 1970s and 80s, to be fair, really.
Yeah.
There's a great audio clip of what's his face, Johnny Rotten, that was like hidden for 30 years ago. Oh, that Jimmy Savile, he's a bad guy, he's a wrong'un. And they banned it, and they banned him off BBC for like 20 years over it, and then it resurfaced, and they're like, oh no, yeah, they knew, 30 years ago.
Yeah.
Apparently, this sort of will align with something that Sean likes to mention on occasion, but apparently they wanted to put Rowe and O'Brien together to see how they played off each other, because at this point in time they were envisaging the two of them going to Deep Space Nine, so they thought it would be good to develop some of that character into play. But as we know, Rowe didn't end up doing that. They had Kira instead. But yeah, that was apparently the thinking behind this unusual grouping.
There is different interpretations of the Bajorans, but one of them is they are, bear in mind the time that it was, and I think Thatcher was still in power, that part of the influence for the Bajorans was the Irish, and the whole stuff that was going on at the time, or the more latent struggles. So I suppose they could have played off each other historically, and they could have played into it a bit more. It was never really brought up in the case of O'Brien, but yeah, it's definitely possible they could have played off it more.
Good evening, Mickey. Good evening to you, sir. Well, welcome on board. Right, so yes, that was a question. Chin Riley, Felton, Haskell, or Monroe? Okay, moving on then. I just put for me, really, a picture of the Enterprise D there with its power turned off, floating in space, which of course was done just with... It's one of the standard shots of the Enterprise used in many of the episodes, but without the sort of light pass, because they used to film multiple passes on an electronic rig with like the whole shots and then the lights from the warp engine and stuff. And they missed off the light passes to give it that sort of shut down look.
I suppose it's particularly obvious because you can see no stars, so I guess no, I never noticed that at the time, but now that you mention it, they're not in any sort of void. You always see stars in space.
Yeah, you can see stars.
So...
There are stars there.
Yeah. Can you see them?
Yeah, okay. You can see stars.
Right. I stand corrected.
Yeah.
G-Star is asking, has he missed the first question? Sorry, G-Star, you have.
You have missed the first question.
Yeah, it's been asked and answered, but there is a second question there for you to hop right in.
Yeah, hop right in to the second question, which was, what's the name of the lieutenant who died when the console blew up in her face? Was it Chin Riley, Felton, Haskell, or Monroe? So yeah, feel free. I mean, the first question carries the least points, so it's not massively important. Okay, so onwards in 10 forward, it's been converted to a makeshift sick bay. Data reports that access to sick bay bridge engineering is not possible. Riker assumes everyone on the bridge is dead. So, yeah, bit of a glass half empty kind of guy there. Everyone's dead. So they decide to use the Jeffries tubes and
the
dead Dave make their way to engineering, with Worf staying behind in 10 forward to work as a medic. Hey, 15 watches, 10 likes. That's not bad, is it?
No, we're doing great numbers, but the likes should match the watchers at least.
Oh.
So I was
just
politely telling people.
I haven't liked it, actually. I haven't liked it yet.
Oh, Monty found one of the 5.
Hang on.
Oh, my God.
Oh, God. Here we go. Like. There we go. I've liked it. There's another one.
Yeah, we're on 12. Okay. That'll do us.
In the cargo bay, Geordi and the Doc are trying to get out of the door, but to no avail. In looking for the emergency hand actuator, Beverly finds the wall is hot, which leads Geordi to getting zapped by a plasma radiation leak. I'm surprised as he walked towards that wall that Geordi didn't notice with his super duper visor, but that
he has infrared vision. He should be able to see.
The wall wasn't radiating some sort of thing, It took the Doc's hand to notice.
It could be. Oh no, I was going to say it could be insulated, but then again, when you put our hand on it, that wouldn't make any sense. So yeah, I've run out of canon explanation.
Yeah. Anyway, there is Geordi being thrown back by the green plasma leak there. Geordi points out that the cargo bay's full of drums of quartum. Quartum? I think that's what it was. Which has a tendency to explode when exposed to radiation. So that's not good. And that was the end of Act 1.
Apparently that, where is it? The plasma fire effect was a clear glass tray with hot water and dry ice, and then they lit it from behind with glue.
Ah, yeah, because it sort of expands out, doesn't it? That sort of smoky expanding out thing. Yeah, clever.
Apparently how that was done.
Very clever. There's another shot of the Enterprise in darkness, because everything's shut down. Anything for Act 1 there, Maz?
Probably. Apparently an early draft of this story was going to have them colliding with an asteroid, but they felt like scientists and stuff would come up with, reasons why things weren't quite right and stuff. So they just invented this idea of the quantum filament, which doesn't really exist.
But you put the word quantum next to it, and right now in sci-fi, if you put the word quantum next to it, it sounds plausible, doesn't it?
Definitely.
Yeah, well, the problem is that if they collide with an asteroid, they'd have to make the episode 4 hours long and have Celine Dion sing a song about it.
Yeah.
True. The other thing we didn't mention at the top of this was that this is the last episode that aired before Gene Roddenberry's death on the 24th of October 1991. That would be the US air date. And then, a couple of episodes later, or they had, 4 Gene Roddenberry and with his sort of year and stuff, like the years that he lived for.
Mr. Tavikins thinks that Geordie didn't have his heat vision turned on.
Yeah.
The beard, you might be right.
You might be right. Yeah, he didn't have it turned on.
Well, I would love the idea that you could kind of twist it to different settings depending on what you wanted to see or didn't see.
Yeah.
I mean, that would seem like quite an advantage. And, you know,
like the
if
Predator.
But if you saw all of the spectrum all of the time, you'd just get a headache, you know, be overload. So it would make sense that you could turn off parts of it to make his life easier.
Okay, on to Act 2. In the turbo lift, and they have the control panel open, but the kids still feel like they are all going to die. Picard decides to give them confidence by creating a little crew. He appoints Marissa to first officer, as she's the eldest, and he appoints Jade the second oldest, to science officer, and Patterson, the youngest, he appoints to executive officer in charge of radishes.
How patronising. I'd be like, dude, really?
Gives them all rank
Have you not got
pins.
something better than that?
Science officer,
Yeah, you
first
can
officer,
clearly-
and that one in charge of radishes.
Yeah,
How good would it
exactly.
be if they had to go through hydroponics and there was like 3 different radishes to pick? Actually, there'd be a very lower decks plot thing to do. I'm like, hold on, I got this.
You
And
got
when he's going to put the pips on her, you can clearly see there's a couple of big holes there already where they've done this scene a couple of times.
On the HD, I'm sure it is, but on standard definition back in 1991, I doubt any of us noticed.
No.
No.
Even like the bigger telly, it just got blurrier and blurrier. It didn't help matters.
Do you think in the science competition that possibly Marissa won first place in the science competition, Jay won second place in the science competition, and Patterson, the youngest there, won he took part in the science competition prize.
Yeah.
He was being bullied and they needed something to make him feel good about himself.
Yeah.
Third place, yeah. Very much so.
Poor Patterson. He seemed pleased though. He was in charge of radishes. Radishes are his thing. So yeah, he seemed pretty pleased with his new rank. Data and Riker make their way through the Jeffries tube, but they've got some problems because there's a coolant leak, so they got to get a move on. They managed to get through that section, but now they come up against some TNG blue lightning stuff. So
just an interesting fact on that particular shot. So the grating that they're walking on, those are just freezer separators. They're basically pallet bottoms that they use in freezers to take things in and out.
yeah,
And you see them everywhere in the walls and stuff to make interesting lights. There, once you know what they look like, you see them everywhere. But they do replace them the next year, I think, because ultimately with like rubber mats, because they're walking along on their knees and those things, and they're just not pleasant to be, you know, pushing your feet down on those things.
yeah, it looks painful. I mean, I can't, because I've broken my knee and I've got a pin and pins in it and stuff. I can't bear the thought of kneeling on my knees anyway. But the thought of kneeling on those things just sends a shiver up my spine. I tell you.
I not broken it, but I couldn't run for 2 years over a rugby injury. So I very much am more protective than I used to be. But yeah, they replaced them with rubber mats because those things they're just not pleasant.
Yeah, Tavikin's not coming back. I keep checking, but she's not come back. Let us know, Mr. Tavikins, if she's okay. But yeah, if there's anything we can do to help get her up and running. Yes. Yeah. So yeah, they come up against some blue TNG lightning effect. So yep, their day goes from bad to worse. And in the cargo bay, the radiation levels are rising, so they decide to move the drums away from the plasma to the other end of the cargo bay. But question 3, what are the drums filled with? Are they filled with A, quadratanium, B, quinarium, C, quaratum, or D, quartz? I'm going to try saying these again. Quadratanium, quinarium, quaratum, or quartz. I will put that in chat because I've no doubt massacred that.
Mr. Tavikin says her phone seems to have died.
Oh no.
R.I.P. phone.
That's not good. That's not good, that's not.
Sad times.
Yeah. Right. Anywho. Just checking we got answers coming in for that one. Apologies for my pronunciation. On the bridge, Miles is analysing the quantum string, quantum filament, and points out to Troi that they have no mass, so they're hard to detect. Troy's like, "Oh, so it's like a cosmic string," but Miles is like, "No, it's a complete different thing." Duh. Bit embarrassing.
Also, can we point out he's at Mission Ops 1? Engineering is way over the other side.
Yes.
He literally couldn't be further away.
Ro gets the
There's engineering.
Yeah, well, yeah, he wasn't at engineering. He was at one of the science consoles. Because Ro's at engineering, getting it up and running.
Okay, I'll forgive that one.
Yeah. Ro gets engineering console up and running by directing raw phaser energy straight into the console. Miles protests that it's improper procedure, but Ro is unapologetic. Now the console's on, she detects a problem with the antimatter containment field, which will eventually lead to a full containment failure, which will destroy the Enterprise. Troy's like, what will happen then? And Ro's like, well, the ship will explode. And Tro's like, oh, diddly darn.
I just want to point out the Bajoran way of, making something fit if it has to fit, and also the Maquis way of basically the exact same thing, if you even Kira says that, if you don't have a hammer, you use a rock. Is very that philosophy is very much embedded in Ro in the scene, so you can definitely see the links between the two, that they were planning Deep Space Nine, or that they were playing around with the same ideas.
Yeah. Tavikins is back.
Can we hear her?
No,
but at least we can see her.
At least we can see her.
That's half good.
Of it. Half of the, Wookiee's got some of his wish. You can see her, but don't get the full force of her sense of humor. That's the.
I don't get anyone to laugh at my jokes if I make a bad dad joke.
Yeah, feel free to do it, and I can give you a nice little one of them, or one of those sound effects.
Yeah, you have one of those. What do they call them?
Yeah. Bell toll, wind rushing. I just played it. Everyone heard it. Yeah.
Except us.
Yeah, you didn't hear it, but everyone else heard it.
Name's gone out of my head, but you know what they're called.
Yeah. Anyway, I have finished with Act 2, by the way. Just to let you know.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, we can talk about question 3 answers if you want.
Yeah, I was just putting them in. Did you answer, Tavi?
No, she says don't go for the answers yet. She's got to put her answer in.
That's okay. Who else are we missing? Ruth? Did Ruth answer? Ruth, where's your answer?
Can we hear you if you unplug the mic, Tavi? No.
Yeah, just like through your phone. Monty says, can you sample Tavikin's phrases on your sound machine, and then you could play them
I would need to set that up for a future stream, but I could have some of I could have a panko and some of her greatest hits lined up on my buttons. Where's the D?
She needs the question, Mr. Tavikin says.
What are the drums filled with in the cargo bay where Geordie and Crusher was? Was it quadratanium, quinarium, quaratum, or quartz? A, B, C, or D? That was the question. So yes, anything from Act 2,
So we've got everybody's answers now. Ruth has answered, and Tavykins has answered too.
Cool. Well, the answer was not A, and it was not D, but it was not B, so it was C.
Yeah.
I think by the looks of it, Tavi got it right.
Yeah, she certainly did.
Yeah.
Tavi doing her sarcastic Vulcan salute.
Yeah, she's giving her a happy dance. I think Trailblazer got that one wrong, I think, maybe.
Yeah, sorry, Trailblazer. Mr. Tavykins nearly got it wrong, but he realised his mistake and changed his answer, which is fine.
Yeah, that's fine. That's fine. You can. We'll give you that. We'll give you that. Okay, Act 3 then. There's no one else in the house tonight, so my Chewie's desperately trying to get my attention to play with a toy.
Oh, bless him.
So I've got no one else to play with.
There's no Cadet Data dolls lying around.
No.
Sorry.
No. Okay, so Riker and Data have been halted by a 500,000 amp arc of electricity. And they don't have anything that can handle that amount of current. But Data believes his own body would do the trick. Though it would cause some serious but not permanent damage. Oh, I just noticed Savannah says she has a belated Christmas gift for me. Well, I have one for you. It's this picture here.
Yeah.
Nice.
I give you this picture, Tavi. Okay.
Oh, he's rocking the schnoz, something awful.
You can have that one. Yes. Who
I was about to suggest that if Destination Star Trek had Brent hosting, that we could make a trip to London or Birmingham, wherever it is. But unfortunately, they've stopped it going to England now. It only goes to Germany.
I know. I was
Oh.
trying to look for it like towards the end of last year, and it was just the German one. I was hoping that was just for 1 year, but maybe not.
And apparently, did the Dublin Comic Con, which gets about 2,000 people, about 3 years ago, or 4 years ago, and they only just realized the other week. So there you go.
There you go.
No. Oh, look.
Yeah. And also, I know I've said this before, but
That is the one that Chewie chewed.
Ah,
That's the Geordie that Chewie chewed. Yeah.
Ah,
Oh wow! Thanks, Tavi. That's amazing.
that's so cute.
Yeah.
oh, it's the mutant Geordie. Yeah, nice.
Yay! I haven't got a half-eaten Geordie now. Alien Geordie.
I was just gonna say, if anyone ever wants to meet George Takei, and we have a predominantly UK audience, he's 85 years old and he's currently performing in the West End. So if you want to meet him, now is the time. There will not be another opportunity, so take it now.
There will never be a better time. Yeah. So yes, Data can handle a lot of electricity through his body. But Tavana already knew that.
Hey,
Hey,
it's electrifying.
he is electrifying. Yeah. Riker is not keen on the idea because he will need Data when he gets to engineering to fix any problems they encounter. Data, though, is like, that's okay. You can remove my head and take it with you. So Riker's like, oh, alrighty then. Go get in that electric arc thing. So he does. Data gets in the electric arc thing and gets electrocuted. He gets zapped. He absorbs all the electricity and falls flat on his front. But in the end, it's successful.
Can I just point out, just back to the previous photo there? That was considered futuristic tech for a light.
The light, a torch. Yeah.
Back in 1991. God, it still makes me laugh. Sorry.
They're cool. I like those lights.
Yeah, but like, I mean, now I've just got, just like right there.
Yeah, yeah. They don't have a little lamp on their tricorders,
Yeah, you would think, but they don't.
No.
Also, I think this is the first time. Sorry if I robbed your fact, Mazza. This is the first time they used this particular set. Oh, sorry, I robbed it.
It's fine.
It is the first
Got
time.
my pencil again.
Yeah. What was I going to say? Oh yeah, and also with those lights, they always carry them like that. Whoever carries a torch like that, but they always carry them like that,
like a panther or something. Yeah. I mean, like a flashlight that you hold in your hand like this seems so much more natural. And even in, I said even in Voyager, they had the two that stuck on the wrist. They were just mag lights, but still, at least you could hold a phaser and the lights pointed wherever the phaser went. It made sense.
Mm. You think their phasers would have a torch setting? Set your phasers to torch.
Like even modern day rifles, you can attach a laser or a torch onto it. It's completely normal. Or even 30 years ago, you could do that. But they were like, oh, no, you have to do this thing where you hold them together or something. No.
This was obviously the first time that they float the idea of Data's head being separated from his body. It happens also in Time's Arrow and then a few other areas. But at this time, they came up with this idea. They thought, oh, this is really harebrained idea. And apparently it came up in, they're having a bit of a brainstorming session. And Michael had left the room. They were like, oh, what if we take his head off? And they were like, oh, he's never gonna allow us. And they came up with it, and he just laughed and rolled his eyes and said, okay, put it in, but nobody's gonna let us do that. They wrote it, and Rick Berman never said a word. He couldn't believe that they got away with it. But they all had a right old chuckle coming up with this idea.
Well, you said about Time's Arrow, Data is head to head with his own head in terms of lore in Data lore. A few seasons earlier, so they kind of established that the head connects at the neck. Yeah, and I had a second point.
I wonder if he has a spare head number 3.
Oh, sorry. Yes. Nice reference. Sorry, Tavi, Red Dwarf. But the other thing is, Data's head actually appears in Star Trek Voyager. So there is a scene where the Borg Queen, when she is trying to figure out how Unimatrix 1 works, is like going through a head of a disassembled drone, and it's actually a Brent Spiner cast head. So he actually does appear in Voyager.
Stu Plum says, leave my body behind. I'll go on ahead.
Oh, hang on.
He ain't heavy, sir. He's my brother.
Yeah.
Brilliant. Also, Mr. Tavikin said, did you try the TV, Tavona? I don't know if you saw his message, but he was saying, did you try the TV?
I don't know if you know this, but in the series Picard, just talking about Data's body parts and heads and things,
fully functional body parts.
When they have, he goes to Daystrom Institute and they've got, is it B4?
B4 in a box.
In a box, in like a museum type thing, or he's in a drawer, That is the B4 body parts that we used in Star Trek 10.
Kept them for
They didn't keep them, no. They actually, after Star Trek 10, they got sold at auction to a private collector of Star Trek memorabilia, who I think lives in New Zealand or something like that. But they tracked him down and they sent him like an email saying, you own the B4 body part. Would you mind if we borrowed them off you so we can use them in Star Trek again? And he was like, yeah, sure, that'd be great. So he shipped them all back to Paramount so they could be reused.
Yeah, sure. Just give me a VIP pass on set while you're filming.
You're about 95% correct, but I think they were actually separated in more than one lot.
Oh, well, then.
Somewhere in New Zealand. So 2 or 3 different people own them, and they actually combined them back together, and they separated them back again. and one of them was just in the storage unit. But you're mostly right. I can't remember where I saw that. I think it's
No, I saw it. I think on a YouTube video.
Yeah, similar, but it was more than one collector. But they did actually manage to reassemble them, take the shot, and then put them back out again, which I love. But some of the toys. Sorry, just before you go on. Some in the Enterprise they needed in a Mirror Darkly episode where they have the USS Defiant and they needed some TOS phasers. They actually used off the shelf replicas, phaser toys.
Yeah, so, like the Playmates phasers. Yeah, they look really good though. They do look really good.
There are certain toys that end up being screen used replicas because they didn't get it.
They did the same with like the spaceship model effects. They often bought like the ATM or ATL, whatever the
I think it was
AMT. Is it? I can't remember the name of the model company, but they used to buy like the model kits,
or Galoob,
and just like hack them apart and build them into various things, and they'd end up going on screen. Yeah. Okay, so what do we talk about? Yes, Data's getting zapped. He falls forward, but it successfully, discharges all of the electricity, and then he walks through Riker and detaching his head. Back in the turbo lift, the little crew are working together to remove the roof. And Picard lifts Jay up, and once Jay's up there, he finds that one of the clamps is sheared away. We get a good shot of the clamp, the broken clamp on the side of
we might be off. Oh no, we're good. Sorry.
No, we're all good. We're all good.
Yep.
Sorry, I thought we were frozen, but we weren't.
We're not.
My mistake.
Yeah. So, question 4. Picard advises Marissa to obtain a load of what to use to tether themselves together. Picard advises Marissa to gather a load of what to be used to tether themselves together. Was it A, optical cabling, B, bio-neural fibers, was it C, nanotubes, or was it D, nylon rope? So what does she have to gather to tie themselves together? Let me just get that into chat. Was it optical cabling, bio-neural fibers, nanotubes, or nylon rope? Is anybody going to say nylon rope? There you. Oops.
Yeah, they actually used tooth floss.
Dental floss. Yeah, that would have been a good one.
Yeah, that would have probably sliced them in two, right?
Yeah.
Right around their middle. Just because we were on the turbo shaft there, I was just going to say that apparently more originally planned for it to rain in the turbo shaft. He'd been inspired by these stories with NASA of where they had, weather formations in their supermassive vehicle assembly buildings, and he thought that'd be quite a cool thing to do. But obviously the practicalities of water and filming and stuff, kind of went out the window. But I think that's quite a cool idea that they could have maybe made use of that sort of thing in one of the later Star Trek series.
I do think it's a little weird that they've got the panel off here that usually is like a yellow light that goes or sideways. But it seems like once you take the glass off, instead of like, I don't know, a window to lights in the corridor or whatever, it's there's computer terminals behind there. But
well, I will tell you, yeah, I mean, it is possible it could be a visual representation, because I will tell you a real world story that I've heard. There was I think this is about the Empire State Building, but they did this study and they wanted to figure out how to make the lifts faster, and they were using all these sort of mechanical models on how to improve the speed and how to more efficiently deliver people, and they just couldn't get it to the point where people would stop complaining about how slow the lifts were. And eventually all they did was they just installed mirrors. So just when you're waiting for the lift, there's just a mirror looking at you. So, and people just lose 15 or 20 seconds looking at themselves in their reflection and checking their hair and stuff. And they had absolutely no concept of the time that was passing. And therefore, they actually, the complaints about the slowness of the lifts decreased because people just started looking at their own reflections, not worrying about the time. And secondly, you know, when you have the loading screen, you have the loading bar, or you have like the whirling,
the circle thing going round in circles.
It doesn't actually do anything. It's just there to give you the impression that something is happening.
Yeah,
and that's the way modern computing is built from a GUI basis, from a user interface basis. So it's completely possible that it's just there to give you the impression of movement without actually being relevant to anything.
Yeah. Sometimes it's good to program in a little bit of like thing twirling around, even if it doesn't take any time to pull the thing back, just to make the user think it's done something important.
Yeah, just to give you the impression that something is happening.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So we are back in the cargo bay. The radiation levels are still rising. Geordie comes up with the genius idea of opening the cargo bay doors and flushing the containers into space. This would also have the benefit of putting out the plasma fire at the same time. Of course, it would also blow them out into the vacuum of space as well, which would be a bad thing. But the doc finds a wobbly-looking ladder, so it's all okay now.
I like the way they like wobbled it, like it wasn't bolted to the ground.
They wobble. They give it a good shake to prove it's solid, but it kind of wobbles all over the place. You think, I don't think I grab that.
On a set it would, but like in reality, you know, if it's bolted to the ground in a military base, yeah, it's got to be fairly solid. I mean, the actual power of being blown out into space, correction, sir, that is blown out, wouldn't be that much.
I would only. I said
no, I sorry, I wasn't correct. I wasn't correcting you.
I certainly didn't say sucked. There's no sucking going on here. This is a suck-free zone.
But I mean, it would only, you know, they milk it for about 8 or 10 seconds, but in reality, it would be a second or 2 seconds, and the air would be gone, and that'd be it.
Yeah, it's also not as dramatic as what they portray on films, and
not at all.
It's more like just like a floop.
Yeah, just like done.
Yeah. Yes, I've forgotten where I was. Oh, yes, that's where I was. We're back in 10 forward, yes. Worf setting bones, and Keiko goes into labour. Oh, Keiko goes into labour. Worf is like...
Yeah, do you remember how we had multiple episodes where we showed her being through the various stages of pregnancy and to checkups with Nurse Agawa? Same way we saw O'Brien when he met her and all the way through the relationship. We didn't just meet him on the day of his wedding. Yeah, absolutely.
Good character building stuff.
Yeah, really. What episode you're married? Next episode, you're having a baby.
Yeah.
Yeah. Moore was saying that they wanted to find things to go against the whole sort of uber masculine kind of Klingon nature. They really like the idea of him delivering a baby, and Michael Dorn liked doing the comedic stuff. Plus, he got tired of them beating him up all the time.
Well, he's good at it, isn't he? He's good at the comedy Worf moments.
His little one-liners. Class.
Yeah.
So you see him in Far Beyond the Stars, where he plays a different character, and you can see he's a much looser, easier person. He has, magnetic personality. He can hold a court in a room. But
he's
that's not
in
what the
Battle Beyond
is.
the Stars.
Far Beyond the Stars.
Oh,
where he plays the excuse my words, colored baseball player.
Oh, right. Yes. Sorry, I'm with you now.
And he's like, oh, they're not used to be living uptown.
Yeah. Yes. Anyway, he commends the old guy here how he took his leg being set, and then tells Keiko,
wore it well.
You wore it well. And then he's like to Keiko, he's like, she's like, I'm in labor, and he's like, this is not a good time. But
can you hold it?
Yeah, but Keiko's adamant that it's coming now. Yeah. So, yes. And that's the end of that act. And we've lost Tavi. Yeah, so that's the end of Act 3. So, shall I go to the question?
You can. Tabikins did not have a chance to answer, though, it looks like.
Uh-oh. Is there anything about Act 3 you wanted to cover?
Oh, nor did Ruth. Ruth hasn't answered either. Ruth!
Oh, no. This.
Okay, well,
I can hear
I
you.
heard.
I heard you. It's kind of
You're very
muffled.
faint.
but I can
Let's see
sort
if
of
I can
hear
I can
you.
turn her up. Try
You
that
can
now.
Turn her up.
I have. I'll turn her up. Yeah.
Try again, Tavi.
Anyone hear me?
Oh,
Yeah, we can, but very quietly.
Very
It's kind of
quietly.
quite muffled.
yeah. But we can hear you.
You're at
and
a
it's-
5. You're at a 5. You need to be about like 50 or 60.
We can't
Can
see
you not hear
now.
us now?
I can't see you now. But we can hear you.
Be like really loud?
I wouldn't say loud.
Hello?
Hello.
You haven't answered. You haven't answered the last question, Tavi. I don't think she can hear us.
No, I don't think so. You just have to truck on.
I'm going to have to
Okay, I'm just gonna kill 10 seconds before we go on with. Oh, she's left us. 10 forward doesn't have a first aid kit, really. It doesn't have a dermal generator and all those good things just under the bar.
apparently, no.
And also, sorry, I didn't get to say this earlier, but like the bridge doesn't have a Jeffries tube. You know, if the turbolift failed, there was no manual way to get out of that space. Yeah, doesn't make any sense.
No, they've got the ramp down the back that leads down to below the bridge. I don't know where that goes. I can't remember where that goes, but
Well, like, oh, the turbolifts are outlined, we're stranded. Nah, it doesn't make sense.
no, it doesn't.
How do you like wire in the consoles? There needs to be a Jeffries tube or a little, path of them underneath the bridge.
I mean, when they say there's a fire, you're not supposed to use the lift, so they'd be absolutely screwed.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, they'd be hacking their way through the view screen. Yes, quickly put an answer in, Tavi. Put an answer in. You haven't answered the last question. I'm about to say the answers. Ready? So, question 4 then.
She doesn't know the question.
Picard advised Marissa to obtain a load of what to use to tether themselves together. Was it A, optical cabling, B, bioneural fibers, was it C, nanotubes, or was it D, nylon rope? And it was, of course, A, optical cabling. And Harrykin's got...
She got her answer in
She
there.
got it just in there, just in time.
Nobody voted for E, data goodness.
She typed it into this StreamYard chat. Didn't see that.
Oh, so you did. Sorry.
Yes. Okay, so onwards to Act 4 then. Act 4. Nearly there. In a kind of not way. Okay, so the senior leaders, in the form of Rowe, O'Brien and Troi, have a staff meeting in the observation lounge. So I guess Ensign Mandel is on the bridge, manning all the consoles by himself. He's just running. He's running between ops and con and engineering and comms, and
they needed to talk about him away from him for some reason.
I know.
They couldn't just talk on the bridge.
Do you think Troi said, Ensign Mandel, the bridge is yours? Do you think he's currently sat on the bridge in the captain's chair all by himself? I imagine he is. I would if I was him,
I remember that did happen to me once when I was about 22. Supposed to be a department of about 20 people, but for various reasons, including it being a Saturday and snow, I was the only person there. So I was like, all right, I guess it's my department now. I'm in charge. Good luck.
Yeah. So yes, the senior staff are having a meeting. Rowe thinks it's time for a saucer separation. as they cannot fix a containment field from the bridge. And if half the crew are still alive in the drive section, well, it just sucks to be them. O'Brien thinks that's damn cold-blooded. Troi asserts her newly found authority and declines Rose's suggestion and orders O'Brien to transfer power to the engineering consoles in engineering. So if anyone is there or goes down there, it will at least highlight to them that there is a problem.
This is the final time that the source set capability is mentioned before generations.
Oh, wow. Did not know that. She dismisses O'Brien and Roe, but Roe stays behind and tells Troi that if she's wrong, she's responsible for all their deaths. Troi tells her says thanks, but please go and carry out your orders. Even though she didn't actually give Roe any orders there to actually carry out, so I'm not quite sure what she's got to go and do. But Troi tells her to make sure she goes and does it. Picard and his juvenile crew are scaling the turbo lift shaft, trying each door on their way. The first door's jammed, so they go to carry on to the next one. The young boys moan that they're never getting out of this place, but number one orders them to be silent and informs Picard the crew is ready to proceed.
And when he discovered it's jammed, he ran his finger down it and tasted it, and he goes, raspberry. He said, only one person would ever give me raspberry. Lone Star!
No, instead it was a Spaceballs joke.
Spaceballs.
Yeah.
It's okay, I make myself laugh, that's all that matters.
Yeah. Is it Darth Helmet or Dark Helmet? Dark Helmet.
Also starring Tim Russ, but
yeah. Yeah. So yes, she tells them the crew are ready to proceed, but then as they go to make their way up, the lift gives way and falls. So they continue to climb whilst singing.
There are supposed to be sideways shafts, aren't there, all over the place?
Yes, there are. Yeah.
Network. Plus,
unless Go on,
it's my turn, Sean. You talk all the time.
I'm shutting up.
Yeah, so they don't have the sideways shafts anyway. It just looks like one continuous turbo shaft, which would be, obviously this right for our lifts, but not on a Enterprise. And the other thing is that gravity is like fake here, or it's artificial, right? So why would they apply any gravity in a turbo lift tube?
Yeah.
Like they should just have them floating around and then easily powered, and if the power goes off, whatever, they're just float in thin air.
Their deck plates have gravity generators, and gravity generating deck plates.
Gravimetric plating, it's called.
Yeah, which is tied to a gravity generator, which is like an engine in the middle of the saucer section. But
so they can't sort of control it to that level of.
Well, I just think it's accepted that it still exists here. Well, a couple of things I felt about this is, one, why didn't they try the door when they were in the turbo lift? Because the gap between each level is only like that. So no matter where they're stopped in the turbo lift, they're going to have like the top or bottom of a door. If they pry it open, they
have roughly 1 in 3 or 1 in 4 chance of being able to squeeze
through one of them. And also, once the turbo lift drops to the floor down there, why don't they then make their way downwards? Because they have to try all the doors as they go. You'd think they'd go in the direction which would reduce the amount of risk rather than continue upwards to a higher height.
Good point.
They didn't think this through.
But of course, we know from Discovery that they basically float in this huge space, that a whole stadium that could hold like Wembley Stadium space of turbolift bays just floating around completely exists in every ship, regardless of its size.
Yes, indeed. Yes, Trailblazer points out that the power's off, so how's their gravity and stuff? Probably, I don't, or any of this stuff. But
with the exception of Star Trek 6, the power being off never affects gravity. So, also Star Trek 6 is the only place where Klingons have purple blood. So figure that one out.
Yeah, Mr. Tavykins points out that maybe they're trying to get to the bridge. The Picard wants to get to the bridge to retake command. That's a good point.
It is a good point, but when they first got in the lift, the little lights at the side indicated they were going up. But as you've already discovered, maybe those are fake little lights and don't actually tell you what's going on at all.
Well, they started on deck 1, so they couldn't possibly be going up.
I know.
Unless it's kind of like a Charlie and the Chocolate Factory or in the Great Glass Elevator kind of thing going on.
But I would think as captain, you would either be going to the bridge, the battle bridge, or engineering. Those are pretty much the only places I would be traveling to. And it's like deck 1, deck 8, and engineering is... What is engineering? 18, 15 or something? I don't know. 11?
It's more than that.
But I would, based on where I landed, I would just be going to whichever one was nearest, either bridge, battle bridge, or engineering. Because I know I could take command control from any of them.
But then the lift gives way and it falls, so they start climbing up whilst singing Frere Jacques because Picard doesn't know the words to The Laughing Vulcan and his dog. And that's what they do.
This is one of 3 times that Picard performs Frere Jacques in some form or another. 2 more times after this on his fluty thing.
I did notice a reference to... a guy called Jörg Hillebrand, who does all the X-Astros Scientia stuff, does say that, his French pronunciation wasn't great, but, I'm Irish and my Irish language pronunciation isn't great because, it's not my native language anymore. And you'd assume in the next 400, they do
pronunciation changes,
Well, that's true as well.
I didn't think it was too bad. He had the R's right. Frere Jacques.
But like 400 years ago, English and French didn't sound anything like what English and French sounds like now.
No, well, true.
400 years ago, German and English were more or less mutually understood. So I can understand that.
In 10 forward, Keiko's pregnancy is progressing. But question 5, how far apart is Keiko's contractions at this point, according to Worf's report? Is it A, 10 seconds, B, 20 seconds, C, 30 seconds, or D, 40 seconds? How far apart are Keiko's contractions at this point, according to Worf's report?
You may now give birth.
Not yet.
And can I also point out, Data's contractions are as apart or near together as the writers make them. Because apparently you can't use contractions until the writers forget, in which case sometimes you can.
He also reports that dilation's gone to 7 centimeters, which he doesn't think's taken very long. Keiko is in the mind to disagree, though. Keiko asks if the baby has turned, but Worf's not sure, as he didn't do this a part of the simulation, which is all the experience he's had in assisting a birth. Oh my god!
Oh, it's Captain Picard.
Kane. It's Kane.
Bane.
Bane. I was going to say Kane.
Got my pencil again. Pick it up.
You were only born in the darkness.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's Captain Picard. Tom Hardy played Captain Picard.
Tom Hardy in Star Trek 10. Yeah, indeed. Yes, he did.
Oh, he did, yeah.
Yeah.
He didn't know he was making a Star Trek reference, but he very much was.
He was kind of making an indirect. I don't know how Woody feeds into it, but yeah.
Well, Tom Hanks is a huge Star Trek fan, and he was supposed to play the role of Zephyrin Cochrane in Star Trek First Contact, and then he couldn't because of scheduling or whatever, and then James Conroy got the role. But he was actually meant to be in Star Trek. So yeah, there is a Tom Hanks clue as well.
Well, there you go. Back in the cargo bay, the Doc walks Geordi through the effects of depressurization, and Geordi points out that once it's completed, one of them has to pull a lever on the back wall to repressurize the cargo bay. Geordie.
It's poor design, though, right?
Yeah, it's pretty poor design, isn't it? Why do you have the repressurized and depressurized buttons like next to each other? You know.
Or just have, because you know you have to depressurize the bay, just have like a little, cubicle that just with the door shut that you can just go into. You just press the button and go, and then you can control it from inside.
Or as it has fuck off great big doors, why don't they have like some masks like under the console, like emergency, oxygen masks?
Yeah, like on every plane everywhere.
You know.
They also you think they would be pointing sideways or something. It really doesn't look like it's affected them too much.
They've been in space for over 100 years, and they're like, "Oh, we need to check if this is stable if we open the door." Like this has never happened before.
No sucking here, Tavana. No sucking. They don't get sucked anywhere. No.
Correction. That is blown out.
Yes, we learnt that in the Naked Now. Yeah. So Geordie depressurizes the cargo bay, and once done, he recloses the doors. They both try to make their way back to the back wall to turn the oxygen back on, but Geordie passes out. The doctor, though, thankfully makes it, and switches the air back on. And it also puts the plasma fire out. So, good job all round, crew. Well done. And that was the end of Act 4.
Everything does get blown into space except for that little panel that's underneath the plasma fire, which just sits there.
Yeah. It's not on string like all the other bits. Yeah. So that was the end of Act 4. Mazam and Bob, have we got anything else from this act that we haven't covered?
No, I think I peppered it through, as we were going.
Excellent.
Sorry for shushing you, Sean. I was just like, I want to get some facts in here.
Yeah, no.
No, you're grand.
It's always good to give Sean a good shushing.
If I deserve it, I deserve it. Go ahead.
No, we love it. We love it.
My kids like this like light comedy series called Psych, about a psychic detective who works with the police. He's not really psychic, he's just pretending. And his best friend's called Sean. The psychic's called Sean, and he's got this best friend called Gus. And when Sean goes into his like psychic stupid stuff, Gus has the phrase, "Shut up, Sean." He's a black American. He's just like, "Shut up, Sean." And I keep thinking whenever Sean goes on, I go in my head, I go, "Shut up, Sean." But I don't verbalize it, because unless you get the reference to Psych, it sounds rude.
Yeah.
No, you're grand. Go for it.
Oh, that could be another voice sampling you get.
Yeah, you can have
Gus going, "Shut up, Sean." Oh yeah, I'm going to do that. I'm going to have a "Shut up, Sean."
We don't want to shut up, Sean. We don't want to.
Yeah. Okay.
I was more thinking. Sorry, you can have "Shut up, Wesley," but all cheats are on.
Shut up, Wesley. Yeah, I need a Wesley shouting button and maybe a calm one.
Well, you could use it for next week, but anyway, we'll get to that.
Yeah, just like a real life psychic. Yeah, Wookie, yep. Okay, so the answers to question 5 then. As a part of Keiko's contractions at this point, how far apart were they according to Wolf's report? Was it 10, 20, 30, 40 seconds? It was C, 30 seconds. So, yes, hopefully we have
I think everybody got a
lots of
C.
C's.
I forgot to write them all down, but I'm doing that now to tot up the points.
Yeah. I can't do can yelling either. No. No can. Oh, it's yes. It's that's Tavikin's job. I can't take Tavikin's job away from her.
I go.
Okay, Act 5. We're on the final act, people. We're on the front straight, making our way to the finish line. On the bridge, Rose still pushing for the source of separation idea when the power coupling overheats, though Brian manages to temporarily fix it. Troi still won't budge, though. She's not going to separate, leaving everyone to die. In engineering, Riker has hooked Data's head up to the engineering computer and manages to open the door to the warp core. They notice that the computer monitors are all working, and Data points out that the power's been diverted from the bridge. So they think, oh, maybe that's a clue. So Riker finds that there's a problem in the containment field and works on Data to get him access to the containment field to fix it. Initially, he connects Data to the wrong port, which is what we see in this picture here, and he gets a bit of a twitch.
It's funny.
But eventually he gets it right. Yeah, wrong hole. Once Data's got access, he makes the connection and stabilizes the containment field. I mean, Data's quite useful.
He's got a big old Cardassian.
Sorry.
He's got a big old Cardassian neck.
He has there, yeah. Look. Yeah, he has there. It's got a thick neck.
There was another episode where they experimented where Data could replace the central computer in the event of an emergency. But I can't remember what episode.
Yeah.
But I guess that's what he's doing here. Fair play to him. Although in saying that, they have 3 different data cores, so in theory, it should never happen. But in this one, it does.
Yeah. To answer Wookie's question, no, I've never worn pointy ear prosthetics. No, I've never had. I've never had them. But to be honest, I wear these big cans on my head because I've got massive ears anyway. So these ears do not need pointiness on them. Because I'd be hitting things as I walk past.
Pointy ears are cute though. They look sort of elven, I think. So I'd quite like to wear some pointy ears, but yeah, no, never tried it.
Am I missing? Am I avoiding your dirty comments? No. I've got to go through what she's saying.
Something about holes.
Yes.
You have to do it this week. Data's head. All you need is the tip for a full service. There is no wrong hole.
No. Sorry, no, I was busy saying my stuff.
Trailblazer says that everybody else in chat is appreciating them, Tammy.
Oh, that's as long as everybody else is appreciating them, that's the main thing. Yeah.
And I have a question. Why is engineering empty when everybody else has been trapped where they are and can't go anywhere?
I don't know. The bridge was pretty much empty as well. There was only 3 of them on the bridge and no one in engineering. It seems like nobody is kind of running this ship at the moment. It's kind of
Well, there's battle stations and there's muster stations. But basically in an emergency,
engineering would be one, right? Loads of people would have been making their way to engineering. Surely.
Well, engineering can take over the full bridge functionality if it needs. As I was saying earlier, the bridge, the battle bridge, and engineering. People should be aiming to get to the one that's closest to them, depending on whatever they're doing.
I mean, there should have already been people there. There should have already been people there. So what did they do? Just like run away? And even then there should have been more people going there. So it should have been like, kind of, whatever, Grand Central Station. Loads of people.
But even if you've ever worked in an office building, if there's a fire drill or something, they've you go to A, B, C, or D, and there's places you go. But the officers are actually just the various basic staff should go to wherever they're needed most, and engineering will be number 1. And we see it in the episode with the Defiant and the Karma in Deep Space Nine, with name I cannot remember. But basically, they reroute all the command stuff into the engineering stations, and they turn engineering into the new bridge. So it is done. But
it's for the story, isn't it? It's for the. I'm just laughing at Gujon's changed his name
to Mr. Tammykins.
to Mr. Tammykins. That's great. I love that.
Wookie says that they superglued their ears when they did Birdman Jump 2011 dressed as a hobbit. They pinch glued the tops to make them pointy. It was really uncomfortable. Oh, so you didn't actually wear prosthetics then? You actually sort of pinched your ears together. I can imagine that would be quite
Ow.
uncomfortable.
Yeah. Wow.
Oh, and Smiley wants to know if Wookie had hairy toes.
Oh yeah. Did you have big hairy feet? Yeah. They
Yep. Brilliant.
they had something like a record number of foot prosthetics for the Lord of the Rings. Literally hundreds of hairy feet, and they had to stay in them all the time. So apparently they ended up really smelly.
Ew.
But
Yeah,
they made them at the end of each filming. They made people bring them. They had to be signed back in because they worried people were going to walk off with them and like trade them things. But
I'll go completely off topic for a second. So when they went to make These Are the Voyages, the finale episode of Enterprise, they couldn't find Deanna's wig from 4 years previous in the costume department. She got really angry and gave out to the staff for not finding it. And they made her wear a really cheap wig that wasn't the same quality as the one she wore all of TNG. And she finished the episode, and about 2 months later, she's cleaning out an old closet, and then she just found it. So she'd taken it home and not told anyone. She just wore it out, and nobody knew any different.
yeah.
But she gave out to every member of staff for not being able to find it. Say, "Oh, the new one looks so cheap; it's not the same." But it was completely her fault.
Right. So on the bridge, O'Brien reads that the containment field has been restored, and Ro concedes to Diana that she was wrong. She should have listened to her all along. Troi says, "Thanks, but you could have very easily have been right," which is true. She could have been right. But I guess the beauty in Troy's position is if she's right, she can brag to Ro about it for the next year. But if Ro was right, well, they'll all be dead. So there's no bragging rights there, is there? She can't hold it over Troi for the next year, because they'd be dead. Somewhere on the ship, Captain Picard and his little crew find a door that they can exit, and they help each other into the corridor. And Picard ends up getting a big hug from his number one. In 10 forward, Worf informs Keiko that she's fully dilated, so gives her permission to now give birth, which doesn't go down well. By Keiko, who informs him that's what she was been doing all this time. Worf tells her that the next stage is to bear down, apparently. He then questions why this has not begun as ordered, and criticises Keiko for not having an orderly pregnancy like the simulation.
Also, can I not say, there's about a dozen people there. You don't think they get just one of them just to hold her hand or something, or support her head? They're all just like sitting in the other side of the room, doing
sitting
nothing.
about drinking tea whilst this
and they're just going.
screening.
Yeah, I realize you can't do much, but hold her hand, support her head, lift her legs. There's a few people there.
He keeps telling her to push with each contraction until Keiko yells at him that she is pushing. It pops out, and Worf gives it a good smacking to induce breathing, cuts the cord, and hands the baby to Keiko. Keiko thanks Worf, saying she couldn't have done it without him. And Worf thinks the baby looks just like O'Brien.
Which, it's definitely the look that she keeps for the rest of the series and doesn't look Asian at all, ever again.
If Wookiee was a woman, he'd ask for a transporter birth. Yeah.
Hannah Hatay, who eventually played Molly O'Brien as we know her, was actually on an episode of Kitchen Nightmares. There's a random fact for you.
Kitchen Nightmares?
Yeah, the Gordon Ramsay.
Kitchen Nightmares, yeah.
Her father ran a sushi restaurant, and yeah, she was in it as a waitress. And I saw the episode
Wow.
and didn't know that, and only found out several years later.
Wow.
But that child is clearly not Asian, or not half Asian, or not quarter Asian. Just, no.
That's cute. Well, it's the first time we see, of course, Molly O'Brien in Star Trek.
Yes, and obviously there's a few references to this later. There's I think when Miles is having his second child in the episode The Begotten, he makes reference to missing Molly's birth. But also the funnier one was in the episode Accession in Deep Space Nine, where Miles tells Worf, "Oh, we're having a baby," and he goes, "What? Not now!" And he's like, panicked. He thinks he's going to have to deliver it again.
Not again.
But well, I will say that's correct. But there's a bit earlier, and he goes, "Chief O'Brien is having a baby," and then Quark replies, "I thought your female carried you young."
Yeah.
It's just like, it's a cracker.
I will agree with Wookie that it's quite a young-looking baby for one of these pregnancy scenes, because quite often you see these pregnancy scenes and they give the mum the baby, and it's quite often obvious that it's like 6 months old or something, and you just think, wow, she never pushed that out. That's never going to happen.
I'm just saying that kid isn't Asian. It isn't part Asian. Just no.
Stuplum says, but it is aging.
But we're all aging. Hang on,
Well,
Stuplum. I'll give you one of these. There you go.
We're either aging or we're dead. Those are your choices.
Right. So, life on the Enterprise is getting back to normal. And on the bridge, Troy's brought the science brats up to restart their tour again. Riker thinks...
And the black box.
Yeah, all right, the black box. Riker thinks she just can't stay away from the big chair, but she tells him that she's found that's not for her. She thinks she'd be more suited to first officer, as it's more reachable because he doesn't require as many qualifications. Riker's like, oh, ouch. The science nerds give the captain a handmade commemorative plaque for helping them not be so scared during the crisis. He thanks them and tells them that this afternoon's tour will start with the battle bridge, as they originally requested. He leaves with his plaque in his hands and hands the bridge over to number one. But of course, both Will and Marissa reply with an "Aye, sir," which of course they all then laugh about. And there's Marissa giving an embarrassed, "Oh, that's not me, is it?" And that's the end. That's the end of the episode. We are done. How good?
Very good. Did
Very
you do
good.
another question?
Oh no, I didn't put
Never
a
mind.
question in Act 5. Oh, I'm sorry, guys.
That's fine. That's fine.
I completely missed off the final question. Oh. Okay, so no final question. We only had 5 questions tonight. Sorry about that, guys. But do we have a winner?
4
That's the question.
questions.
Not really, no. We have 6 people that all got top marks.
I made it too easy tonight, didn't I?
Looks like you're going to have to make it harder next week.
Yeah.
It's still about the episode. Maybe things that are like, I don't know, more observational or... but yeah, so that gives everybody 7.5 points except for Panko and Trailblazer. So Trailblazer was next with 4 points, and then Panko was last with 3 points.
Hang on, let me get that in the let me get the sheet up.
So 6 people all had 300 points, and that gives us 7.5 points each. So are you going to round that up to 8, I presume?
8 points. So who gets the 8 points?
8 points to Tavakins.
Right, hang on. Tavikins. So that puts her on
Stupid.
34. That puts you on 44.
Sean.
That puts you on 35.
Mr. Tavakins.
Mr. Tavikins. Is Mr. Oh, yeah, there he is. It was at 8 for Mr. Tavikins. And I'll change his name to Mr. Tavikins. There we go. Right, yeah, Mr.
Ruth.
Ruth had 8 points as well. So that puts Ruth on 42.
And me.
And you got 8 points as well, did you?
I did.
That puts you on 32.
And I forgot, I didn't mark down that G-Star. He answered one question right earlier, didn't he?
Yeah, you did, yeah.
Yeah. So then we have Trailblazer on 4 points.
Trailblazer, 4 points. Oh, he's not
G-Star
on.
on 3 points.
Trailblazer's not on the list. Hang on. Trailblazer
Yeah, because he normally watches it after the fact.
gets 4 points. Hey. And what was the other one?
G-Star gets 3 points.
G-Star with 3. And Panko gets how many?
2.
2. Ah, cool. There we go. That's that updated.
Beautiful.
And sort that to that and sort. And there we go. So that's the new leaderboard then. Stu Plum still in the lead, followed by Ruth, 2 points behind, followed by Sean in third place. Tabikins Turner just outside of the top 3, 1 point behind Sean. With Mazaba Bob, G-Star, Panko, Space Chatter, me, Mr. Tavikins, Trailblazer, all lagging behind. So, here we go. Start thinking about what you give this episode out of 10, from 0 to 10. What would you give Disaster? Is it a disaster in your eyes? That's what we want to know.
Wookie wants to know, what breed of dog did the laughing Vulcan have? Tavikin says a Doberman Pinscher with cropped ears.
Oh, very good, Tammy. Very good.
Sorry, just like, cropped ears. Why do people do that?
No, I know.
Please, just stop cropping ears, stop cropping tails, stop buying pugs, please.
Well, actually, docking tails is still a natural thing, or a thing to do. For example, my Chewy has got a half docked tail.
Wookie wants a minus point reward system for asking stupid questions.
Yeah.
Well, if you'd kept your previous 4 points you had, we could have docked one, but you've got none.
Yeah.
We can't put you in the minus.
Yeah. Yeah, with working dog spaniels, because they got fluffy ends to their tails because they run through bushes a lot. They can often damage their tails, and it can cause them a lot of medical problems. So they tend to shorten their tails to stop them getting problems.
I had an uncle who got like Labradors and just cut it right down to the bone just because they thought it looked nice. And no.
So disaster. We're getting some scores in. Think about what you would give it.
What does everybody else think? To get my pad.
I see. That's why it's called disaster, because it was like you say based on like a disaster movie.
Like Tower and Inferno or whatever.
Inferno.
Different people caught in different places and
the Poseidon Adventure, whatever it was called.
Yeah.
You're one in the cockpit. The cockpit, what is it? It's the room at the front of the plane where the pilots fly. But that's not important right now.
Yeah. Airplane.
Yeah. Love that film.
Yeah. Right, so what do we score it as? I am going to get my score out. Again, it's just my personal take, what I've scored it this time. Oh, we never got Tavikins. Can you give us a score for last week as well? Before we have this week's scores, Tavikins, can you give us last week's score? Silicon Avatar, very big data episode, but we missed your scoring out. So have you got your paddle? You give last week's episode an 8. Yeah.
Yeah. Can't blame you for that.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
higher than everybody else, but it was data heavy, so that's what we would expect. So, that is what we expect. Right, are you ready for this week's episode then? The big scoring for Disaster, Season 5. Drum roll. Tavi's giving it a drum roll. I can literally hear the drums. 3, 2, 1. Oh, 5 from Maz and
I
Bob.
know. I was just about to change it to a 6, and then
Oh.
yeah.
Gosh. 5 from Maz. And that was a 6 for Sean and
Tavi.
Tavi.
Oh, yeah.
Well, there we go. I see. Yeah, so it's a bit of a mixed bag. This one, isn't it?
Yeah.
Across the air,
Seems to be a bit marmitey.
a bit marmitey. I just found that this has probably been the episode I've enjoyed most of season 5 so far. I mean, I know we're only 5 episodes in, but I just found it really fun. I don't know why. I don't know whether I was just in a really good mood when I watched it, but
Well, it has an ABC plot, and it's good in terms of long-term canon. It's mentioned in episodes of Deep Space Nine, and the fact that it links in better in the future. I can see what you did, but I had 3 plots in it, and all 3 plots were all serviceable. But I don't know. It's very forgettable.
It had more than 3 plots, really, because you had the Picard in the lift with the kids. You had Data and Riker getting to engineering. You had Beverly and Geordi in the cargo bay fighting for their survival. You had Worf delivering a baby in 10 Forward. You had Deanna taking control of the Enterprise from the bridge. And I just think...
Sean's yawning as you're describing all
Oh,
of that,
jeez.
so it shows how he
Oh, nothing
Nice,
to do with
Steve.
you.
Nice, Steve. I'm putting Stu to
Mash
bed now as
round,
well.
Steve,
Stu's
mash
off.
round.
Stu's off to bed as well.
No, I just have bad anxiety and it messes up my sleeping pattern, so I'm always sleeping weird hours. That's all this. Don't worry about it.
Anyway, I just thought it was nice to have an episode where all the crew were being utilised and having their moments. And, Worf with his comedy and delivering, and Troi with trying to wrestle with command, and Riker wrestling with taking Data's head off, and Geordi and the Doc trying not to get themselves ejected into space. I just found it really, really good fun. And I love these kind of, cataclysms on the Enterprise where they've got to climb through where, I love the episode like 11001010, or the one where the terrorists take control of the Enterprise and Picard does his Die Hard on the Enterprise kind of thing. But I just love those kind of episodes.
And knocks out Tuvok, yeah, I remember it.
Yeah.
Which is completely different than Tuvok in Star Trek Generations.
So that's why I gave it an 8. I thought it was really good fun. What about you then, Maz? 5.
Well, yeah, I was going to change it to a 6. I was trying to debate because oh gosh,
I'll let
sorry.
you change it.
The light just fell off. I was sort of debating between the 2, but I like the fact that it was a bit different. But I like the plot in 10 Forward, and I like the plot with the sort of getting to engineering, even though some of it didn't make sense. But then I just thought some of the others were kind of a bit weaker and again didn't really make much sense, like in the one in the turbo shaft, the stuff in the cargo bay, and even on the bridge I felt like, I don't know, it just seemed really forced. I mean, once again they've got Troi actually doing something for a change, and they make her look really stupid. And
well, no, she makes the right call in the end. She sticks to her guns. She makes decisions.
But
she gets advice.
It's a coin flip.
She gets advice from the crew around her, which is, that's what you do as a captain. You take advice from your senior staff, weigh up the options, and then go with the one you think's, the best option for your crew. And I think she does that.
It's a coin flip, and I actually the thought is only occurring to me now. I'm wondering were they trying to ape the original series, in that they had the captain and then they had Bones and they had Spock, and they were generally arguing against each other, And I'm wondering, did someone just be watching a bit of TOS and went, yeah, let's replicate that. But yeah, there's a lot of moving parts, and they're all good. But do they come together perfectly? I don't know. Same as the last episode. It's just, I don't think so.
No. There's a 7 for Trailblazer, a 7 for Ruth, 6 for Stuplum, and a 3 for Mr. Tavikins.
And
3.
a 9 from
Was it a 9? Oh, a 9 for Wookiee. Yes.
difference between a 3 and a 9. Like
Yeah, it's really Marmite, isn't it? I mean, that's the most Marmite we've, I think we've seen in a long time. If
the
ever.
average score in chat was 6.4, so rounded to.
Is that including Trailblazers 7?
That is, yes.
Right. So what was it 6.4?
6.4, so that would be
6
rounded.
Yeah. So 6 was pretty much the 6.2.
Just nudges it over the last one.
Yeah. We had data on all 4s. I mean, you know. What do you want?
Abby was a happy girl.
Yeah. Yeah. 6.2 does put it slightly, a smidgen above Silicon Avatar, but around that same sort of same thing. Ensign Rowe pissed Mr. Tavikins off. I think they did make some mistakes with
annoying.
Rowe's character in this, because she's still quite a new character, and to make her that annoying in her sort of second outing might have been a didn't really endear her to the TNG fans, did it?
Yeah, I did say it earlier, but you know, the kind of mucky attitude of slamming it together and make it work, you know, it made a lot more sense than believing that she somehow survived 4 years of Starfleet Academy and became an officer. If she came in as some sort of liaison officer that she was kind of thrown in at a later age, it's more or less bad writing that they just didn't establish her character correctly.
Yeah.
And the writers, they own up to that as well. They say similar things that, you know, they made some mistakes with her character,
So that was Disaster, season 5, episode 5. Next week, I think it's The Game. Wesley! It's coming back.
We get to see who's on the game and who's not on the game. Should be an interesting week.
Yeah. Apparently, they're all on the game on this ship.
Evidently, yes.
Evidently. Apart from Wesley.
And Ashley Judd, yeah.
And Ashley Judd. Oh, yeah, Ashley Judd's in this episode, yeah. Yeah. So, yeah, The Game next week. Yeah. So, let me just go back. There we are, beautiful people. Yes, thank you, Mazam Bob, Tavikins Turner. Hopefully we'll stay on a little bit after this and see if we can have a look at your audio issues. Thank you, Chief Sean. Thank you, everyone in live chat. Thank you to Wookiee, Stu Plum, Ruth. Don't forget, Ruth, you can always join us in the studio if you want. Mr. Tavikins, I hope you have a good week on your travels in your truck. Thanks to, I said Wookiee, thanks to Trailblazer, Stu Plum, and Mickey. Thanks for Mickey popping by. And Smiler Rainbow, thanks for coming on, even though you've been in and out and all around Plymouth whilst you've been watching the live stream, listening to us.
And G-Star and Panko pop by as well.
Yes.
Panko
and G-Star. We'll see you next week at 8 o'clock Wednesday for another episode of Star Trek The Next Generation. Cheers.
Bye.